Good afternoon. I'm Stacey Van Dyke. Surveillance video was the focus today in the trial of 40-year-old Raymond Gunn, who's accused of firing a deadly shot at 41-year-old Eric Hayes last summer in North Fargo. The video shows a fight in the parking lots of the Bison Turf and Loaf and Jug gas station between Gunn, Hayes, and another man before Hayes and Gunn circle around a vehicle and one gunshot sends Hayes to the ground. Prosecutors say Gunn intended to kill Hayes, but the defense argues Gunn was acting in self-defense as Hayes attacked him with a 5.5-inch knife. Tonight at 6, we break down all of that surveillance video for you, and we'll tell you what officials say was in Hayes' system when he died. New for you here at 4, police have released the name of the man who evaded troopers and was found nearly dead hidden in a slough. 22-year-old Austin Perleberg Hunt of Jamestown was charged with felony fleeing, reckless endangerment, possession of drug paraphernalia, and possessing stolen property. That's in addition to misdemeanor driving under suspension and resisting arrest. He had warrants for his arrest at the time of the pursuit. Highway Patrol says Perleberg Hunt led them on a chase just east of Jamestown. When the car became stuck, police say he took off running and was swimming and wading across the slough. After an hour-and-a-half search, troopers found him with severe hypothermia and had to carry him to an ambulance. A Fergus Falls man will spend more than 12 years behind bars for murdering a child. Reggie Bethel pleaded guilty in January to second-degree murder, admitting that he physically assaulted Mason Weston in July 2021. Bethel slammed the boy's head into a wall and kicked him for not cleaning silverware. Officers say the boy was on the couch unresponsive when they arrived and showed several fresh cuts and had a large patch of blood on his shirt. An autopsy determined his death to be a homicide as a result of being a battered child. Here's new information on a story out of Fergus Falls. 2 people are accused of arson after a house fire yesterday. Someone driving by saw smoke and flames through an open door of the home. Crews say the fire was put out within 5 minutes. Investigators remain on the scene for several hours. Today, they're saying they've been able to determine the fire was intentionally set. 39-year-old Corey Keisler and 28-year-old Kyle Kroll were tracked down and arrested in Fargo. A friend of the homeowner told Valley News Live that the homeowner went to court last Wednesday trying to kick those 2 out for not paying rent. Well, if you're making weekend plans, you might want to include a jacket. Chief Meteorologist Hutch Johnson is here with a first look. Hutch?
Stacey, thanks so much. Yes, it's looking like some cooler weather after a brief warm up today is on the docket, and we do have some rain showers. See the yellows and oranges on the latest radar. Those are some moderate to heavy showers extending from the the Cavalier County area and Cavalier and Pembina right down through portions of Walsh County and heading in towards Grand Forks. Moving off to the east at 30 miles per hour. It's going to arrive in the northern Red River Valley first, and it trails off to the west. Here's Stutzman County, Wimbledon, Pingree. It's got about 90 miles before it gets to the Fargo area, and at 30 miles per hour, that's about 2.5 to 3 hours before it gets to us. I mentioned yesterday wind would follow the rain. We have a wind advisory for most of North Dakota and western Minnesota for gusts to 50 miles per hour right through your day tomorrow. Here's a look at the clouds that are darkening off to the west of you in Grand Forks from our home of economy location. But in Fargo, temperatures are going to be steady in those 40s through the evening with clouds and a chance of showers close to that 5 to 6 o'clock time frame. In Grand Forks, it arrives a little bit sooner. I expect those showers to arrive in the 5 o'clock hour. I'll have hour-by-hour details on tonight's rain that will become snow tomorrow. And it could accumulate on grassy areas. And we'll talk about the flood impacts of all of this here in just a few seconds.
All right. Thanks so much, Hutch.
Yeah.
A Fargo woman is facing felony charges after allegedly trying to run over a man with her vehicle, then fleeing from police. Officers spotted the vehicle and tried to pull her over, but they say she took off and nearly hit several pedestrians. They eventually took her into custody in North Fargo. She told the officer she was in an argument with a man and he hit her in the face. The man involved in the situation said Manning wouldn't let him out of the vehicle, and once she did, she tried to run him over several times. Several witnesses also confirmed seeing this. Manning was arrested on 2 counts of aggravated reckless endangerment and fleeing in a vehicle. More new information for you this afternoon. Police have arrested a man in connection to an early morning fire in South Fargo. It happened at 107 12th Street South around 5 a.m. Officials say when they got there, the tenant, Michael Gill, refused to open the door, forcing firefighters to pry it open. The fire was put out before crews got there. Police arrested Gill for endangering by fire and possession of meth paraphernalia. Paradiso Mexican restaurant in South Fargo will remain closed until further notice. A fire broke out at the restaurant early yesterday morning, and it was supposed to reopen this afternoon, but now the general manager tells us the cleanup will take longer than expected. Investigators are still looking into the cause of the fire that caused $150,000 in damage. There's a show of unity at NATO headquarters in Belgium as the 30 member states, including President Biden, are gathered for their first face-to-face talks about the Russian aggression in Ukraine. Deborah Alfarone has the latest.
President Biden unveiled new sanctions against Russia at a NATO summit in Brussels.
NATO has never been more united than it is today. Putin is getting exactly the opposite what he intended to have as a consequence of going into Ukraine.
NATO, G7, and European Union allies are looking for the best way to help Ukraine without escalating the war.
Many Ukrainian refugees will wish to stay in Europe, closer to their homes. But we've also will welcome 100,000 Ukrainians to the United States.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky addressed the summit from Kyiv. He pleaded for more military aid, and he told the alliance they were capable of preventing more death. And with Vladimir Putin's next step always uncertain, NATO is doubling its troop deployment along its eastern flank, sending 4 new battle groups to Bulgaria, Hungary, Romania, and Slovakia.
And so I think a lot of these measures are designed to ensure that the conflict doesn't expand.
A White House official tells CBS News that President Biden's latest package of military assistance to Ukraine, including anti-aircraft and anti-tank systems, began arriving Wednesday. On the ground in Ukraine, troops and civilians are battling for every inch and have recaptured some territory. But Russia's blistering aerial assault is inflicting severe damage, and Ukrainians have little power to stop it. Deborah Alfarone, CBS News, Washington.
A month into the war, military analysts are estimating 7,000 to 15,000 Russian troops have been killed in action. Today, the Senate wrapped up 4 days of Supreme Court confirmation hearings for Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson. The panel featured witnesses chosen by the two parties, advocating both for and against Judge Jackson. 10 Republicans on the Judiciary Committee sent a letter to Chairman Dick Durbin asking him to halt the hearings until they got access to confidential probation reports that Judge Jackson used in sentencing child sex offenders.
This is very confidential, sensitive information, which is usually only seen by a judge. I'm sorry, Senator, I'm not going to be party to that. I would not want that on my conscience, that we did this for some political exercise here, which I think is totally unnecessary, and someone was harmed as a result of it. I'm going to resist it every step of the way.
The Senate Judiciary Committee is expected to vote on Judge Jackson's nomination April 4th, but 4 days of often contentious hearings has done little to sway the vote for senators on either side of the aisle. Despite the growing business pullouts from Russia, the Moscow Stock Exchange has reopened for the first time in almost a month. Partial trading resumed today in 33 stocks, but the White House calls it a charade intended to artificially prop up share prices after February's sell-off. The White House is condemning the launch of what's thought to be North Korea's largest ever intercontinental ballistic missile, potentially capable of reaching the U.S. The world has braced for North Korea to unleash a monster missile like this one, and South Korean leaders say they did just that on Thursday, test firing a missile that landed in the Sea of Japan. The White House called the launch a brazen violation of several UN Security Council resolutions, but said the door has not closed on diplomacy if the North backs down. With inflation raging and state coffers flush with cash, governors and lawmakers across the U.S. are considering a relatively simple solution to help ease the pain people are feeling at the gas pump and the grocery store spending money. At least a dozen states have proposed giving rebate checks of several $100s directly to taxpayers, among them California, Kansas, and Minnesota. Critics, including many Republicans, say those checks won't go far enough given the pace of inflation and are pushing instead for permanent tax cuts. Propelled by surging costs for gas, food, and housing, consumer inflation jumped 7.9% over the past year. In addition to the direct rebates, lawmakers and governors across the country are considering cuts to sales taxes, property tax relief, and reducing or suspending state gas taxes. Researchers are planning to start human trials later this year for the first male birth control pill. Scientists from the University of Minnesota say they've developed an oral contraceptive that does not contain hormones and doesn't cause harmful side effects. They presented their findings this week at a meeting of the American Chemical Society. Scientists developed a pill for men that blocks a vitamin A producing gene needed for contraception after a 4-week test on mice. Researchers say the pill dramatically reduced sperm counts and was 99% effective in preventing pregnancy without harmful side effects.
As a urologist, I'm excited because this is something different. This is something non-hormonal. We have to wait. It may take years before we actually see this as an option for men.
If the FDA gives the okay, clinical trials for humans could begin within 6 months. Other possible male birth control pills currently undergoing clinical trials target testosterone, which researchers say could come with side effects, including weight gain and depression, as well as adversely affecting cholesterol levels. Well, if you